Hi, and thanks for joining us for Crossroads Support Services January 2017 online training for our Connect Care online time and data system. We hope that you find this training very informative. When you're finished watching the video, please notify me, Mindy Hodgin. I'll include my contact information under the video. And let me know that you finished watching it. Let me know if you have any questions, and also set up a time to come by and sign the mandatory consents that we need before we can give you your initial login information. So without further ado, let's get right into the training. To use the Connect Care online time and data system, the first thing you need to do is turn on your computer and open whichever web browser you prefer. Now here I'm in Google Chrome, but Connect Care will work with Microsoft Internet Explorer, Microsoft Edge, Mozilla Firefox, and Safari if you're using a Mac. So whatever browser you're using, you need to go here up to the top and type in the web address to get to the Connect Care system. It's really easy. It's app.connectcareonline.com. And just hit enter, and it should take you straight to the login page, which you see here. If you do not come to this page for some reason, double check and make sure you've entered the correct address up here. And also double check and make sure you didn't enter the address in, say, a search bar. A lot of browsers have search bars built into them now that might have searched for this instead of going to the actual web address. So make sure you're entering your web address into your browser bar and not a search bar. Also, once you are here for this first time, I would really suggest creating an icon on your desktop or bookmarking this site so you can get back to it easily. Now, once here, you will log in with your email and a password, which I will supply to you after the training. So, my email is mrobinson@crossroadsupport.com for this system. And okay, so this is a good time to address this. Once you get your email and get your password and you log in several times, every so often it's going to ask you to change that password. Now, I will give you your initial password to use, but once it asks you to change your password, you change it to whatever you want your password to be, and then you never share it with anyone. Not me, not anyone here at Crossroads, no one at East Point, no one. Because basically your password is your signature. So if somebody has your email address and your password, they can log into this system and make changes as if they were you, which could constitute Medicaid fraud. So we definitely want to have a secure, strong password and never share it with anyone. So we're going to change our password here. Like I said, you won't see this the first time probably, but you will after you've logged in a few times. Alright, and once you've logged in, this will be the first screen that you come to. It's the Consumer tab, and you can see over here we have the Consumer tab highlighted. And on this page, you will see all consumers that you are attached to in the Connect Care system. If you need to document for a consumer and you do not see their information on this page, you need to call us here at the office so we can get you connected. But basically, you'll see your consumer's name and some demographic information here. You may or may not see a picture. We don't have pictures loaded for everyone, so if you don't see a picture, that's okay. So basically what you're going to do is click the Add Time button underneath the consumer that you want to document for. So we're going to go ahead and document for Peyton Manning here. So we'll click Add Time. And it's going to jump us down to the Add screen. We can now see the Add over here is highlighted. That's because that's the current screen that we're on. Now it jumped us down about a little ways down in the page. We can just scroll back up and you can verify that you are on the right consumer, because again their picture and demographic information will be here at the top. Now on this Add screen you will see several little boxes here that you can choose from. Basically what you want to do is click on your little calendar here and choose the date that you would like to document on. So we're going to document as if we worked yesterday. So we'll choose January the 9th. Okay. And here it's going to default to all services here. But we only want to document on, let's say, in-home skill building. So we'll click on this arrow and we'll click on in-home skill building. And now we will see just Peyton's in-home skill building goals here. Okay. Now, we can also use this box here to choose a different service and see other goals for Peyton. Now we've chosen personal care. We're still on January the 9th. And we see that Peyton only has one personal care goal, as do many of our consumers as well. We can also choose community networking, supported employment, or if your consumer has already transitioned over to one of the new services, we have community living and supports and supported living in here as well. And as always, respite is an option here. So let's start with in-home skill building. Everyone's pretty familiar with that. Now, when you choose in-home skill building from the list here, and again, we've still got January the 9th selected over here. We haven't changed that. We can immediately see that we have not entered any time or mileage in on this day for this service because under hours and mileage, we have zeros. So before we can enter a time in and time out for a service, you have to document on at least one goal for that service. So let's go ahead and document on Peyton's in-home skill building goals for this day. Basically, to do that, all you would do is click on Edit this section underneath the goal that you want to document on, and what we call the bubble screen pops up. Again, on this bubble screen, you can confirm that you are documenting on the correct consumer, on the correct date, and on the correct service, and on the correct goal. So this in-home skill building goal says Peyton will enjoy his retirement until he decides to come out of retirement. We're going to say that Peyton did this independently. So we'll click one time on the Y for independent. And you'll notice when we do that, it automatically selects the Y for progress down here. If somebody did something independently, then it is automatically means they made progress on that goal. So we'll just click save one time. And now on our screen, we'll be able to see that right next to this goal, that we had yes for an independent response and yes for progress. Now, if we need to change our response for this goal, we can just click on Edit this section again, change it to whatever we want it to be, and click Save. Now, you'll notice that we also have an N next to independent response and refused response. There's no need to select the N for no. Just choose the Y for yes if it's either one of these responses. If you actually had to give prompts for this goal on this day, you would choose how many of what type of prompt you gave for that day, and you would just disregard the yes and no options up here. Now let's document on Peyton's second goal. We'll click on Edit this section. Again, confirm consumer, confirm date, confirm service, and confirm goal. Peyton will go to bed without a fight. Let's say yesterday that Peyton refused to do this. We'll click one time on the Y for refused. It automatically populated our no for independent, and it also automatically populated our no for progress. So all we have to do is click save. And we will now be able to see that we chose yes, Peyton refused this, and he did not make progress on this day. So let's document on Peyton's last in-home skill building goal. We'll click Edit this section. Here's our bubble screen. Confirm our information. And the goal is Peyton will brush his teeth every night with no more than 2 verbal prompts. Well, yesterday, let's say it took Peyton 5 verbal prompts to do this. We'll click one time on the 5 next to verbal prompt. And once it's selected, you'll see that all numbers below it will also be selected too. If you click it again just one time, it will deselect it. So if you make a mistake and choose the wrong number, let's say we accidentally chose 8 and it was 5, we can just come back here and click on the 5 and it will take away the 6, 7, and 8. Now, if you choose one of the prompts, physical prompt, modeling, gestural, or verbal prompts, then you have to manually determine the progress. A feature that we are adding in upcoming versions of Connect Care will allow you to see somewhere in this bubble screen what you documented on this goal the last time it was worked on. However, right now we don't have that functionality, so we're going to kind of have to play it by memory until that's added in. But let's just say I happen to know that on January the 8th, it only took Peyton 3 verbal prompts to brush his teeth. And on January 9th, it's taking 5. That's more verbal prompts, so that's no progress. We'll click on the N for no, and we'll click on Save. And now we should be able to see next to this goal that it took 5 verbal prompts, and there was no progress made. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and keep scrolling down. Now you will now see our comments log, mileage log, and time log. Now you'll only see a time log here on the bottom if you have chosen a specific service from the drop-down box here. You'll notice that if I switch to all services and scroll down to the bottom, we don't see our time log anymore. It's because we have to split our time by service. Let's go back to in-home skill building, scroll to the bottom. Okay, so for comments, this is kind of like the notes section on the back of your grid sheets. This is just kind of a place to let us know if something out of the ordinary happened that day, if there's anything special that you feel is worth mentioning as it relates to how your consumer did that day, or how they did working on goals, or maybe why you didn't choose to work on a specific goal that day. You can relay that information to us through the comments log. So you would just click on Edit this section. You'll get your little pop-up here. Click here and just type whatever you would like to type and click on Save. Comments are logged over an entire day, not just by service. So whenever we switch to a different service other than in-home skill building, we will continue to see this comment that we've put here for this day. Mileage is also logged by day. So when we click on Edit this section in the mileage log, we can click here. We can type in the number of miles we went that day. We can let them know what city we were in. Most often it'll probably be Goldsboro, but let's just say on January the 9th we were in Mount Olive. And let's say we went to Mazatlan and Walmart. Now, if you like to split your mileage up by segments, you can click right here on Add Trip, and you'll see the ability to add different segments to your trip if you want to be specific, or if maybe, we went to, let's say, Kinston also on the same day, and we went to the Nooseway Park. We can input different mileage segments and it'll add it up for you. So when we click on Save, we should see a total of, well, you'll see both your segments here, and then up here at the top next to mileage you'll see 40, the 30 for Mount Olive and the 10 for Kinston. Now we'll scroll back down to the bottom, and now we're going to enter our time in and time out for in-home skill building. So we'll click on Edit this section under Time Log, and you'll see a box for time in and a box for time out. You'll click on the little clock symbol here on time in, and let's say we clocked into in-home skill building at 10 a.m. on this morning. So you can either use the up and down arrows to choose your numbers, or you can also click on the actual number and you'll be given your options. Our minutes are counted in 15-minute increments, so you'll only have these 4 options. So let's say we did 10 a.m. To change your a.m. and p.m., you just click one time and it'll change. So but be careful, that's a commonly missed thing, and that throws everything a little bit off when that's not correct. So always be careful with your a.m.s and p.m.s. And then again here we can click on our little clock for timeout, and we'll say we clocked out of in-home skill building at 3 p.m. this day. Alright, so we'll click somewhere in our white space to make our little selector boxes go away. Now again here you can add segments of time. Let's just say that maybe we clocked back into in-home skill building at 5 p.m. on this day, and then clock back out at 7 7:30 p.m. So we can enter different segments of time here. We'll click on Save. And here at the top, we'll see our total hours for this day is 7.5. It adds it together for you. And down at the bottom, we'll see our 2 segments of time. Now, let's say I realized that I actually left at 8 this day and not 7:30. Click back on Edit This Section. Go right here to our 5 to 7:30 time segment. Click on our clock. Change it to 8 p.m. Make sure our AMs and PMs are right. And click on Save. It's that easy. We can change what we've put here, and then it'll also adjust our total up here at the top. We now have 8 hours. All right. Well, what if I realize that I actually did the 5 to 8 on the next day, not on the 9th, and I need to take that segment off entirely? You can click on Edit This Section, find the segment you want to take off, click on the little X right to the right of it, click it one time, it takes it away, click on Save, and you'll now see down here we just have the 10 to 3 segment, and up at the top we just have the 5 hours. So it's really easy to change something after you put it in here. It's just a couple of clicks and you can change anything you need. Okay, so we're finished with in-home skill building for January the 9th. Let's go on and document on some personal care. All right, you can see when we change our service to personal care, we now are back at 0 hours because we have not documented hours for personal care on this day, but we still have our 40 miles that we've entered because, again, mileage is over the entire day. Now, Peyton looks like he only has one goal for personal care, as do many of your consumers. So we'll click on Edit This Section under this goal. Peyton's personal care goal is he will walk home from the shopping mall. And we'll say that, yeah, he did this on the 9th. Click on the Y one time, click on Save, and we will see complete next to that goal. Now, if we keep scrolling down, we see our comment that we entered earlier is still here. Again, that's for the entire day. We see our mileage log that we entered before, again, for the entire day, but we don't see anything here under time log, so we're going to enter our personal care time. Click on Edit This Section. Remember, our in-home skill building time was from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., and we don't want to overlap with that time, but what happens if we did? If we click on here, and let's say we try to clock into personal care at 2 p.m. and clock out at 5 p.m. All right, click here, and you'll see an error pop up. Error, your hours overlap with some of your hours for the in-home skill building service for this patient. So basically it's telling you you're overlapping with your in-home skill building time. So we say, oh, okay, that's right. We clocked out at in-home skill building at 3. So let's adjust our time into personal care. Change that to 3. Error goes away. Click on Save one time. And you now see 2 personal care hours here at the top. And if we scroll down, we see our 3 to 5. Okay. Again, same thing here with every service. If you need to make changes to your time, take segments off, add segments on, whatever you need to do, you just click on Edit This Section and make the changes you need to make. All right. Now, let's go back up and let's say we want to document on some respite for Peyton on the 9th. Again, once we choose respite here, you'll see we go back to 0 hours, but we still see our mileage. And under respite, you are going to see here the same activities that you see on your paper respite grid sheets. So all of those little activities that you put your check marks next to on the respite grid sheets are listed here. And Peyton has a couple of additional respite goals that you will not see. So what you want to do here is only document on the things that you actually did. Respite, just like any other service, you have to document on at least one of the goals before it will allow you to enter a time in, time out. In fact, let's show y'all that error here. If we try to just go straight down to the time log and enter a time in and time out before we document on a goal, we'll see error, no goal progress for selected service. So we'll want to click on the little X here, get rid of the time log screen, and then we're going to go up and let's say that Peyton worked on a puzzle this day. We'll click once on the Y, once on the save. So that's complete. And we'll say he prepared a meal. Click, click. And we'll say he played a little ball this day. Click, click. And maybe we played some Monopoly. So we'll click here and click, click. Okay, and we'll see that's complete. Now, what if you wanted to get a little more specific about what you did? Like, let's say we want to document that Monopoly is the board game we played. Scroll right down here to our comments log, hit edit this section, and just click right in here. And save our comment. So we can add to our comments, we can change them from any service screen. Now it has jumped us back to in-home skill building up here at the top, and the reason I knew that was because our 10 to 3 time log here. So let's scroll back up and choose respite again. Okay, so back at the respite screen, we've already documented on our goals. Let's keep scrolling down. We see our comment about Monopoly, we see our mileage log, and let's enter our time. And we're going to say we did respite on this day from 5 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. We click, we see no error come up. Now a note, if you click outside of the white box here before you click save, it's just going to take the box away and not save what you did. So you have to click save when you're entering your time in and time out, or you'll have to come back in here and enter it again. Alright, but you can click anywhere in the white box and that will not take it away. So we click on save once. We can see up at the top we have entered 2.5 respite hours, and down at the bottom we see our 5 to 7:30 segment. Okay, so that is the basics of documenting on services and goals in the Connect Care system. Now, if we say want to document on today, let's go, we can choose January 10th. We can choose any of our services here. Document on our goals. Let's say Peyton will go to bed without a fight. He did this today. We can enter our time in and time out. Let's say we did 11:15 a.m. to 3:15 p.m. We'll save that. We'll see it there. We see it up here. Let's say we did some respite on the 10th. We went on a walk maybe. And we can enter our time in and time out for our walk. Let's say it was 3:15 to 8:30. Alright, again, we don't see an error, so we can click save. Okay, so it's really easy to choose your dates here with the calendar. To flip between months, use the arrows here to each side of the month and year. It's also easy to choose our services. And again, you will see services listed here that your consumer may or may not receive. Just disregard any services that they do not receive. We are in the process of transitioning everybody into the new waiver services, community living and supports and supported living, which are going to replace in-home skill building and personal care. So some of you may be working on these two services while others may be working on one of these new services. The next thing I would like to show you is the services screen. And to get here, we just click one time over here on services. And this is what I like to call your electronic grid sheet. When you get here, you can again confirm that you're on the right consumer up here at the top. And the time periods here run just like your paper grid sheets, for the 1st to the 15th of each month and the 16th through the 30th or 31st of each month. So when you choose the calendar here, you'll see that the whole grid sheet period is lit up. And you can see that if I click on any date in a grid sheet period, it will light up and show that entire grid sheet period. So let's go back to the 1st to the 15th of January because we were documenting on the 9th and 10th. And as you scroll down on the services screen, you will see every service that your consumer receives and all of their goals listed, and under each section a duration. And over here to the right side, you'll see each day in the grid sheet period listed, and you can use the blue arrows to the right and left to navigate between days. Now, we were documenting on Monday, January 9th and Tuesday, January 10th, so you will see data in these spaces for the goals on the services that we documented on. You will also see the total duration that we have entered for each day for the in-home skill building service. All right, and we can continue to scroll down to personal care. We documented on personal care on the 9th for 2 hours, and then we can continue to scroll down to respite, and you can see which ones we documented on for respite and the duration that we put in for each day. You can also see all of the other services that you may or may not work on. At the very bottom of the services screen, you'll see your mileage and total duration for the entire day. So this is a very easy place to come look and make sure you've entered all your hours for a particular day. Now up at the top, we can also narrow this down by service. We can choose just one service and look at just that one service over that grid sheet period. So nothing to enter on this screen. This is just a place for you to come respite what you have entered. The next screen I would like to show everyone is the time screen. Now this is going to be very important to staff because this screen is basically your timesheet. Now you will notice up at the top it has your information and not your consumers because again this is your timesheet. Now there's a couple of things I want to show you here. The first is the non-consumer activity time button. When you attend a training, whether it's here in the office, any kind of activity that you do for Crossroads that is not directly taking care of a client goes under non-consumer activity time. You click here one time, and again you'll see your information up here at the top, and we'll be able to choose a date. So let's choose January the 10th. And let's say that we did first aid and CPR training on January the 10th after we got off of work. So we can click on edit this section under the comments log, and we can put in first aid CPR training. Click save. And we can click edit this section under the time log. And I think we clocked out at 8:30 that night, so we were doing late training. We'll say 8:30 to 11:30 we were training. Again, we do not see any kind of error for overlap. We can click on save one time, and that adds 3 hours of non-consumer activity time, which is paid at your administrative rate. All right, to go back to the time screen, we just click again on time, and it'll take us back to the main time screen. Now, the time periods that you can choose here on the time screen are based on our pay periods, not the grid sheet periods. So again, this is like your time sheet. So when you choose the calendar here, it's going to light up the entire 2-week pay period. So again, we can use our controls. We can go back and forth and choose different pay periods. These are all preset in here, so you do not have to worry about keeping up with that. Click anywhere in the white to make the calendar go away. Now here I can quickly see that for the January 1st through January 14th pay period, I have entered a total of 21.75 hours for all of my consumers and a total of 40 miles. I can also see that that timesheet is currently open to have data entered into it. And if I scroll down, I will see a listing of each of my consumers. And again, here to the right, we see each day in the pay period and the blue navigation keys. And here we can see that on January the 9th, we entered 9.5 hours total for Peyton for all services and a total of 40 miles. And on January the 10th, we entered 9.25 hours for Peyton and no miles. Now, this last line here, non-consumer activities, is the first aid and CPR training that we just entered. And we entered a total of 3 hours for that on Tuesday, January the 10th. And down here at the very bottom of this table, we see our total hours per day and total miles, again, per day. So this is going to be important every other Monday when you are getting everything ready to make sure it's ready to submit. This will be the place you will go to look and say, okay, do I have all my hours entered? Do I have all my mileage entered? Have I entered my training time if I did any? This is a real quick place to look. Time, data, and mileage are due to the Crossroads office every other Monday following the end of a pay period. So time, data, and mileage for January 1st through the 14th would be due by 12 p.m. noon on Monday, January 16th. It is due at the same time in the online system as it is due on paper here to the office. Every other Monday at 12 p.m. noon, we will close out the pay period. You will see the status on this screen change to timesheet in review, and at that point, you will no longer be able to enter your time, data, or information into the system for these dates. The next pay period will be open by that time for you to begin entering your information starting the Sunday beginning the pay period. If there is a need for any kind of correction in the online system, a QP in our office will notify you before paychecks are given out on Thursday and Friday of that same week. And when you are notified by a QP that a correction needs to be made, the QP will open the pay period back up for you to go in, make the changes the QP advises you about, and then you will notify the QP that you have finished the changes so they can go back in and put the pay period back in review. The benefit of using this online system obviously eliminates you from having to drop your time, data, and mileage information off here to the office every other week. It also prevents you having to wait to complete corrections here in the office when you come to pick your paycheck up, as you will have your corrections completed before you arrive, hopefully. The last thing I wanted to show you is the gear wheel up here where you will click to log out. Always make sure you log out when you're finished entering your information so somebody cannot come in behind you and enter information or take off hours that you have already entered. I hope this training has been informative, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact Mindy at the Crossroads office. My number is 919-736-9242. I'm listing my other contact information underneath the video, so please take note of that. And I hope that everybody finds the system as useful as staff already has. Thank you so much.